Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy National Fossil Day. Welcome to our Let's Tour live stream event presented by the Alf Museum of Paleontology and the Western Science Center. We're your hosts. I'm Brittany Stoneberg. With me, as always, Gabriel Santos.
Hello, happy National Fossil Day, everybody.
Yeah, very fun day. So, for today's event, we're asking the question, why are museum collections important? For most, when we think about exhibits on display, we are trying to answer the question why they're important. We have to go behind the scenes. We have to go beyond just what you're seeing when you walk into the museum. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a virtual field trip to museums all across the country. So if you stick with us today, you're going to be able to talk to a lot of different scientists and museum professionals about the things that are in their collections. And as a reminder, we are in a global pandemic, so all of the museums that you're going to see today have taken steps to mitigate the spread by going to their museums. So let's get started with our first stop, the Raymond M. Alf Museum.
Woo!
And this is Bailey Jorgensen. Hey, Bailey, it's great to see you.
What's up, everybody?
Hi,
They obviously
Bailey.
wanted first. The best museum comes first, obviously.
Okay. Just a reminder, you guys will all be seeing the Western Science Center later today. Not a
I'm not
competition
biased.
or anything.
That one's the second best.
So,
All right.
really quick, Bailey is one of our collections paleontologists at the Alf Museum, and she's gonna give us a tour, and show us some of the cool stuff. I personally can't be there because I am holding master control, but Bailey knows the collection better than I do at this point because she has taken that collection above and beyond what anybody else has done in the past decade of collections work. So Bailey is collections keeper of bones at the Alf Museum now, so I'm gonna let her give the tour.
Thank you, Gabe. All right, y'all get to go on a wild ride as I carry this around. So we're starting off here in the Hall of Footprints at our museum. This is one of our display halls. So I even have Amphision behind me here, an Alf Museum icon. And well, we're here, I guess, to talk behind the scenes. So I'm started in the collections hall because that's sort of what people think of when they think of museums. They think of the stuff that's on display. But what's on display at the average museum typically makes up 10% or less of what the museum has in its collections room, has in store. So I'm going to take you through our museum slowly to the collections room. But the first step we're going to go to first, we're going to have a guest appearance by our preparator, fossil preparator, Mr. Jared Hoyk, because for those, I guess, who don't really know the process, when we find and discover fossils in the field, well, the field is when we go out searching for fossils. I call it the field. People call it the field in the field of paleontology without thinking about it, but I have confused some people. It's not like a farm field. It's when we go out to search for fossils, we find fossils, we call it going out into the field. And when we do that and we find something cool to bring back to the museum, typically the see how this works. Here's Bear Dog coming around. And this is our secret little back door that no one else is allowed to go through that leads to the prep labs. This is a fun hallway. And here's the door to the prep lab. He knows I'm coming, I promise. Okay. So this is Jared Hoyk, our preparator.
Hello. So, brief glance of the displays down in the museum. It's important to remember that not all fossils, when they show up to the museum, look good. They require a lot of work to actually be ready for display or research. It totally depends on the end goal of the specimen. So actually behind us here, we have a collection of jackets. And this is the stuff that is wrapped around the bone and the rock to keep it safe for transport. So for example, these were driven several hundred miles and had to be flown by helicopter because they're really big and very heavy. But these plaster jackets keep the bone safe. It's the exact sort of thing you would have if you had a broken bone, for example. Nice and hard. So it's my job to bring these specimens in, open up the jackets, and clean whatever is inside. So this is a good example. This is something I've been working on for a couple months now. You can see there's a collection of different bones in here. So these are the cervical vertebrae, the neck vertebrae of a duckbill dinosaur. You have a rib here, another rib here, another rib here, and the bones to the left are more material that's been taken out of this jacket. So another rib, a femur, a part of a rib, and some stuff that I haven't gotten to quite yet. It's important preparation process that as we go along, we want to make sure that we're not losing data. So once these bones are removed from a jacket, you lose a lot of important context. The orientation of the bone, or the depth within the quarry, or maybe something interesting like a weird collection of plant material or a certain change in the rock around the bone called the matrix. And so it's important to document all of those things. As I go through this jacket, I'm taking pictures and measuring and writing for everything that I do, because once these bones are out, the information's gone unless I've written them. So it's really important that I work closely with Mr. Santos, Dr. Farkey, and others who run the museum to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. Over here, I have a couple of the tools that I like to use. And they range from things that are really simple, like a hammer and a chisel, to small pointy instruments and toothbrushes, to bigger, fancier things like air abrasion, where I shoot really fast powder at bones to scrape off the minerals and stuff on top, to things like this air scribe, which are basically miniature jackhammers. So if anyone ever sees these lines on a specimen, whenever they go to a museum, that's actually the track of the air scribe. And each of these specimens is unique. So we want to make sure that, you know, how I treat this femur over here is going to be very different than how I treat this femur over here. It's a challenging process, but we have a good team of people and we all work together to make sure.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
You're welcome.
He said all that stuff about data to make me happy because that's where I come in. So we're going to go on Toad's Wild Ride again here, back into the hallway. Everyone say goodbye to Jared one last time. He's in there somewhere. So now, after fossils come out of preparation, typically where they go is either back through here on display or this way to the collections room. You probably thought that the prep lab sounded pretty cool with all those fancy tools and stuff, but the collections room is better, just saying. So right here is our hallway to our little collections room. Oh yeah, actually before I go any further, I'll just mention really quick, me and Jared and Gabe are all housemates, so we're all part of the same quarantine pod. That's the only reason I was in the same room as Jared is because we're podding. We're in the same household, so we don't have to worry about germs like that. No one else do that. So just keep that in mind. We're being so safe. We're lucky actually that we are podding together because that means we can go hide in our basement down here and not infect anyone, but still work with fossils, which is very nice, very great. So, all right, back to stuff. So this is the collections room. So our collection is small but mighty. We like to think of it that way. It's very special. This is the collections room right here. We have one other collections room technically that I won't take you to that houses all of our fossil footprints, which are big, huge slabs. So they take up a special amount of space. But here's where the rest of them are stored. And we have about 100,000 specimens currently in our collection, and that's growing all the time because another thing that makes our museum pretty cool, we actually are super active with field work and research work because we are the only accredited museum on a high school campus. Santos and Dr. Farkey and Mr. Jared all have are all part of a paleo program here at the high school, where the high school students go out every year to search for fossils, which really helps our collection grow super, super fast. And me too, I go sometimes too, but mostly the high school students have collected most of the specimens here at our museum, like 90% or something crazy. So they're very prolific, and sometimes they bring back really crappy specimens because they're kids, but that's fine. We love them anyway. And we've got a nice, huge collection. So a big part, I'll talk about boring stuff, I guess, for a second. A big part of my job is databasing. I promise it's cool. We have a bunch of computers here that are our databasing computers. Because Jared talked a little bit about data and the data for the specimen, and it is super important to preserve data with each specimen for that specimen to remain scientifically viable and also legally viable. So a big part of my job is making sure each specimen has the appropriate permits associated with it, as well as the appropriate locality data with it, which tells you exactly where the specimen was found, because you need to know exactly where it was found to know what formation it was from, to know what it looked like in the ground, so you can figure out maybe how the animal died, stuff like that. So it's all very important to label and catalog and have all the correct numbers associated with the specimen. So that's a lot of my job, is doing that, and also making sure that the locality data and the permit data and the accession data is all in order. So a lot of computer stuff, but also some fun stuff, such as properly housing the specimens to go into this collection. So let me flip myself back around. There we go. So another thing that we do is we make cavity mounts and Smithsonian mounts for our specimens to make sure that they can rest happily ever after in our collection. So this is an example of a cavity mount that I pulled out for everybody. This is a little Triceratops frill chunk, which was a nice fun puzzle project for a student a while back, and then they made a cavity mount for it. Or actually, I think I made this cavity mount for it, to house it properly, so that even though it was all glued together, it can stay that way for, theoretically, forever, as long as the museum lasts, which would be nice, if that was forever. And I guess I'll just show you, since I'm here, another project that I'm working on, which is these shark teeth. So I mentioned locality data. These shark teeth have been a big pain in my butt because they have bad locality data associated with them. So that's what I've been doing for the past day and a half, is trying to figure out where those teeth came from and where those permits are and fun stuff like that. Okay, turning back around. All right, so we have our collection organized chronostratigraphically, which means we have all of our specimens organized by time. So turning around, this far back here is actually invertebrates, and we start with the oldest invertebrates and go to the youngest. And then we have a little tiny plant section, and then we start with the vertebrate section, oldest vertebrates here, working through the collection to the youngest vertebrates down there. And I'll show you another example of that. So these are all crammed together, obviously. Probably noticed, how are we supposed to fit in there? I'm going to show you how we fit in there. So we have to move the trash compactors. So we press reset. Then we make sure nobody is in the Skywalker is not in the aisle. And then we walk down to the aisle we want to open. And whoa! They're moving. Yeah, so cool. So now the aisle's getting bigger, and the other aisle is getting compacted. So before, our collections room was just a bunch of shelves, and we ran out of space, basically. So Mr. Santos put together a team of people and got these trash compactors and
right, we're back. Sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties. Uh, for those who don't know, the Alf Museum collections room is in the basement of our museum, which means sometimes our Wi-Fi just doesn't want to agree with us. So it happens now. But I think we're back. Ready to go again, Bailey?
You should be good to go. I'll try to go fast for the rest of the time in this room, and then I'll flee. I think that's a common collections problem. I don't know. I hope. Anyway, we're gonna specimens, and then we'll move on. So here we go. Wild ride down this nice long aisle. Anyway, so once we installed the moving shelves, our collection grew by 60%. So that was great. We have Hedwig here is guarding the keys. And Hedwig helps us unlock cabinets. So within each cabinet, we have it all organized by locality. But I just pulled these. I just pulled from random localities to show you some of my favorite specimens. Because you all deserve that for sticking with me this long. So let me go ahead and flip this around. Okay. So within this drawer are some of my favorite specimens, or visually interesting specimens at least. So right in the back here we have some croc jaws and another nice example of a cavity mount. Pretty cool. Right over here we have some invertebrate appreciation. This is a crab prepped out in such a way that it looks like an action stance. It's all prepped from top and bottom, which is a bold choice that turned out really cool. Right over here, this is a fun one to show the kids. It's insects trapped in amber. You should really be able to see the insects in this amber, but people assume that whole concept is invented. But no, insects do actually get trapped in amber and preserved. They just do not contain dino DNA, unfortunately. But that's okay. It's also one of the famous ways that people get grifted, I guess, trying to buy fossils. There's a lot of fake insects in amber out there, so fair warning. Here is another cavity mount containing a T-Rex tooth. Nice Tyrannosaurus Rex tooth. You can see like the little serrated edges are super well preserved on that little guy. Pretty awesome. And then Gabe would kill me if I didn't show you his favorite specimen, which is the tooth. So these look like sushi rolls all crammed together, but it's a tooth, believe it or not, of Gabe's favorite fossil animal, the Desmostylion. So ask him all about it if you see him in person, especially. He'll tell you all about it, more than I ever could. All right, so now, closing that, some of our drawers have tons of drawers. These are actually all empty, which is why they're unlabeled. Otherwise, I would label them, because nothing goes into this collection unlabeled, if I can help it. And then Hedwig locks it all up. And all right, I'm gonna flee from this Wi-Fi dead zone, and then we can go right to questions. So I'm going back into the Hall of Footprints.
Thanks, Bailey. So really quick for everybody who saw the fossils that we have, the Alf Museum is also a federal repository, which means that we have fossils that we've collected on public lands. So for that to happen, we have to have permits in order to collect. So like the crocodilian jaws you saw, those were collected under permit at Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument as part of our field season. We're very big on making sure that people have permits and are doing ethical collecting, and so we try to do that ourselves as well. So any of those fossils you saw, they're either donated to us or we had permits to collect them. All right, cool. It looks like it's time for some questions. So I've got some questions that we had from Instagram. Let's see. One of the questions was, this is from the Dinosaur Podcast. How do you adjust the collection space after a new find and busy dig season?
Oh, that is a great question. So one of the things about the collection that it's very dynamic. So just because I label something and put it in a drawer and label the drawer and put it all and update it in the database doesn't mean that all of that isn't going to change a little bit if I have to introduce something else. So I try to, and I put specimens away, so to speak, leave space in the places I know we're going to grow and I know we're going to collect. But there has been countless times where I've had to take an entire cabinet's worth of specimens and slide it over once to make room for a new locality. or for a huge specimen that happens to come in, and we don't have space on a drawer for a huge specimen. So it's a lot of shuffling. So you have to keep it all in order and shuffle it as things come in to sort of make space, which is why it's a lucky thing we upgraded and have space to kind of stuff things into the cracks, as opposed to before not having a place to put it. So now it's all, it's all beautiful and it's all labeled and in order. It's my primary main objective is to keep it all in order. So hopefully that answers your.
Oh, Bailey does a great job. Like I can't keep saying it because my job is I'm spread pretty thin sometimes. So Bailey does a really good job at organizing that collection. She's more of the collections manager than I am currently, but it's a fun task. I will say, for moving stuff when we had to upgrade the collections, that was difficult because we had to literally take every specimen and every cabinet out of that collections room, move it into our hall of footprints, and then move them back. And I think that took a couple weeks the first to move them out, and then a few more weeks to move them back after the renovation was done. And that was I felt like I had the matrix code running through my head every time I had to think about where we were moving specimens. Because it was like, okay, this one all of the specimens had to go back exactly in the same order that they came out of. So yeah, it takes a lot to actually have to move. So we try our best to not move them when we don't have to.
But they did a great job, and it's pretty much they kept it all pretty much in order. So yeah, it's an accomplishment.
Brittany, hold on, your microphone's off.
There we go.
There you go.
Everyone can hear my lovely voice. This is from the Q&A chat. Let's see. This might be for Jared if he's still available. He's still there? Or is it?
He is not, but I can channel him and try to answer.
So someone was asking, how did Jared become a preparator? Like, how do you get that kind of job?
Yeah, I do actually kind of know the answer to that. So Jared went to school first. Well, first he always loved dinosaurs, and then he started out at a community college here in California because he's a local California boy. But then he heard about the great paleontology program at Montana State. One second. Oh, sorry. Just a tickle, I promise. So he's then from community college. He was able to transfer up to Montana State University, where he got a degree in geology, emphasizing in paleontology. And throughout the course of doing this, Jared figured out that he loves rocks more than he loves dinosaurs. So, which I don't know if that's anyway, he still loves dinosaurs, obviously, but he's very interested in the geology side, how the rocks work, how they look. He spent a lot of time in the field. He actually also got a job at an oil field, which is more like rock geology-based sorts of things. And he volunteered a lot as well at the Museum of the Rockies, as well as working there for his coursework. So I guess to ask, if you're to be a little more specific, how do you get a job as a preparator, is you love rocks and you work hard to make rocks part of your life, if that makes sense. And there's more than one way to do that. But Jared moved here at the Alf Museum, and he let Gabe know how much he loved rocks. And Gabe tried to make him database at first, and he was like, I'd rather work with the rocks. And he was good at it because he had practice. So, and it all sort of evolved from there. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't know.
That was very true. I did try to make Jared database, and immediately he was like, nope. So he grabbed the AirScribe and just started doing it himself.
But he knew what he was doing. So that's,
Oh, no, he was great at it. The moment he started prepping, because we didn't have any preparator at the time, I was like, oh, no, Jared, you are staying here. I'm locking the door to the prep lab. Work on all of these. And then eventually we were able to pay him to do
it. That's right.
I think we have time for one more question, Brittany.
Okay, let's see. Does the Alf Museum have internship programs, and if so, what does that look like?
Ooh, yeah, great question. Ask Gabe.
I'll answer that one. So we do have internships. Usually during the summer, we have internships available. We might be having more in the future, so stay tuned for that. But unfortunately, right now, we do not have internships because the museum is closed. Again, the only reason me, Bailey, and Jared are able to work at the museum together is because we are all housemates. Otherwise, we still do all social distancing. We have to wear masks and stay safe. But hopefully, once things gets better, we will open up to have interns again at the Alf Museum. So internships at the Alf Museum, usually you work in the collections, you learn about museum science, databasing. You can sometimes do a little bit of research with our curator, Dr. Andy Farkey. And so we try to give you that museum experience, learning all the different aspects of a museum, kind of different paths of a paleontologist, I would say. So keep a lookout. Hopefully we'll be able to offer internships again soon. All right, cool. Is that, I think we're done, right, Brittany?
That's it. Thank you so much, Bailey.
Thanks for coming on a little tour with me of the best museum in the world.
We'll see with our friendly competition later.
I know. I'm gonna be the only one in a group of 4 Western Science Center people, Bailey. Look what you did.
I'm sorry.
Come on, Dave. Like you can't hold your own.
It's okay. I love the Western Science Center. I mean, we're all like really good friends. We're all really good friends. Yeah. This is how you know we're friends. We can joke about how our museums are better than each other, even though ours is. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and join us again at 9 a.m. We'll be back with the University of Michigan Museum of Paleontology. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Really quick, some final words. If you would like to continue to support this program in the Alf Museum and the Western Science Center, you can find links on how to do that in the description below. And to learn more about National Fossil Day from the National Park Services, visit www.nps.gov. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more stories about paleontology. And we will see you at 9 a.m.